I was gonna leave this discourse alone because like I don't really see a point in having it fully because a lot of the layers that some people are missing during the conversation are always going to be present for a while, I feel like. But whatever, let's get into it. Interracial dating, okay? You have to talk about this in totality if we're going to talk about this subject. And in general, before we even get to the black and white issue specifically, in general, society does not teach you and focus on your partner being someone that understands socially what you go through and having morals and all that stuff and ethics and all that stuff, right? So I'm Demi. I've always been Demi, didn't know what Demi was when I was younger. But part of why it is so hard for me and why I've never had a situation with a person, in part, is because I need to know the person. I need to feel comfortable with them. I need to have deep connection to them to even want to get to the romantic layer of them at all in the first place. Like, and then I have to know you're like, that you care about oppression in multiple ways and that you care about black issues specifically in multiple ways. So you have to do all those things in general for me to like be interested in you as a person. And you have to learn and be close with the person to even learn those things and get into those conversations because of the way society has structured you to not put those points like at the forefront. Just like when women are dating, a lot of when women are dating men, you're not taught to care about the fact that these men are misogynistic to like the basic level and then the over exaggerated level. Like you're conditioned to actually put up with their misogynistic behaviors, just like in general with the world with dating, with whether you're man or woman or whatever. We are conditioned to not talk about serious subjects, about how we feel about the state of the world, how we feel about racism, misogyny, all that stuff. That like you don't get into the nitty gritty of those deep subjects. Politics, like you can date some people with different politics. That's why you see so many people dating people who literally have the opposite viewpoint or they vote the opposite viewpoint, but they live in the same household. Like I could never, right? But I've always been like that. So that is the most important layer to this whole conversation that I feel like people aren't like really discussing. That people don't get into the intricacies of understanding your culture as a person and understanding things about oppression, make sure people aren't racist, make sure people aren't misogynistic, make sure people have similar viewpoints, morals, ideals, ethics, and all that stuff when correlating into when you're going to date someone. All of that has to be a thing that happens, in my opinion, which is why, like, I am the way I am, I guess, right? But I've always felt that way because of being how I am. And I've always had that like in my head as why like I need to be aligned with you a certain way to even be friends with you or dating you and all that stuff. After a certain point, if you can't get to that like understanding of those certain things, I eventually either stop being friends with the person, lose them in some way, they betray me in some way because of their lack of actually following these ideologies, right? And deconstructing adequately, right? Or actually just giving a fuck about you as a person as well. People just pretend all of these things, which is another layer of the problem. But to jump back specifically into the interracial problem, these people are not like dating people that are like in tune with knowing what's going on in the world, which means they're not dating people that care about the black community or black problems, or if they even know about those problems, which is why we get, again, when in these interracial couples, a lot of them are black capitalist misogynistic men who actually add to a lot of the problem within the black community, and they go and date a white woman who certainly isn't woke because he's not vetting her to make sure she's that. Then they get together and have mixed children. Now there's mixed children identity issues all wrapped up in this. And then you get white moms calling calling mixed babies N words because they're racist, or you get black parents, black parents in general that don't like teach their kid things because they aren't woke themselves. They aren't in tune with the culture themselves. They don't like understand it themselves or like align with blackness themselves. So then the mixed kids grow up and they add more to the. First of all, their experience is very. This is why mixed kids grow up with like they think black people hate them type thing, right? Because they have that both sides instilling certain things because their parents are unwoke, and then the treatment from outside from the other unwoke people and people that don't understand the layers of things that are also learning and deconstructing on the outside, treating them a certain way. So their experience is like a whole different thing. That is a problem. It's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. And I'm not saying this is all mixed children. Obviously, I just want to specify that because you have to specify that. But yeah, this is why interracial dating in general, even like not just counting within the black community, I know that's a conversation we're having, but within other races, like this is why if they're not like a woke person in general, like I wouldn't even date a black girl if she's not entirely woke or isn't at a certain level or doesn't understand certain things about what we go through, because I just can't do that because me in general as a person doesn't want to be with a person that doesn't understand it regardless of their actual race. So if they aren't meeting the guidelines of like knowing about the patriarchy, knowing about white supremacy, knowing about transphobia, homophobia, and the interwoven systems that we live under, then we shouldn't be dating and fucking them in the first place. It's really what the like actual core of the issue is. And black men have this the worst because black men seem to align more with patriarchy consistently. They are choosing to side with patriarchy, instead of blackness every time. They're adding to black women's oppression every time, adding to women's oppression overall every time, because they are placed better as men. They want to be placed better as men to eventually succeed and take over patriarchy, which is really what they want. That's really what they're fighting for. They're not fighting for the full liberation of black people and women in general and everybody in general. They're really for black men that are capitalists, are really for just the ascension and dominance of black men within a white supremacist system, which doesn't make sense, but that's what a lot of them are doing. And then those are the men that are the most dangerous when they're in relationships with white women, because a lot of the times, because of that, these white women are racist as well. Then they sit there and act like they're not racist because they're dating each other, and it's like a whole thing, which is why pro-black people who are really pro-black are saying that you can't, be pro-black and not have a black partner, because they understand the intricacies of everything I'm saying. But I also just in general think that if you are with anyone, you should be, both of y'all should be deconstructed and trying to deconstruct and care about everybody in totality, like intersectionality wise. So that's just how I feel about dating as a whole and how I always have. So when it comes to interracial dating, there's way more responsibility and nuance intertwined with that, because then you start altering the diaspora and birthing kids with identity issues and causing more problems that cause more layered problems within the systems we live under and within our communities, that causes problems with our community more, which is why it's so important, which is why people that are pro-black are saying what they're saying. But on another coin, you just being with a black person also doesn't mean you aren't completely, means you are still not like part of the problem community and not completely deconstructed and still misogynistic and still homophobic and still transphobic and all this stuff, So yeah, I just feel like it's not like being specified in the conversation most of the time when I see conversations about interracial relationships, which this has always been my problem with interracial relationships. But yeah.